The open hours are from 11 to 1, and we think it's very important that people can come in here without an appointment, because I know that when my son was going to the support group place and I had an appointment, he decided he did not want to go. He threw a fit, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I had, made this appointment. I had waited for it, and they said, well, you just got to get him here. I was so upset. I finally did get him there, but I didn't know what I was going to do. So I think that's very important that when we do the walk-in hours, that they can just come in and feel free to not have that appointment. And we are going to have volunteers return calls, and they're going to help locate resources. And I have a whole bunch that, we will work through that. If we cannot provide the answers to the person at the time, that's fine. We can always get back to them.
And this is very important to remember as a volunteer, that just because you're volunteering and you don't know the answer, that's always your go-to.
Yeah.
Let us get back to you on that. Let me research that for you. And you may not even be the person calling back. Is it okay if we call you back?
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of things. And then because we were brainstorming this, Jill's not here. I'm by myself. She's the one that knows all the resources and knows this person may be able to help that person, or this organization may be able to help, this family, whatever. We may not know about all of it, all
Right.
the different options that are available to help people. So just them communicating it to us, and
we may not even get the answer until later. It may not even come to us for a while, for a few days. So that's fine. It is important to remember that the client needs to have some ownership in their own journey, and we do not want to get caught up where we are making the phone calls for the person. So if we give phone numbers to people, they've got to take the initiative to make the move. We cannot do this journey for them. We can provide them with the information, but we're not going to do it for them. Another thing that we do allow people to hug. I'm a very hugging person, but it is very important to know what people's boundaries are. And it is important to know that if you do want to offer a hug, that you ask the person first, because I just know that there are a lot of people who are guarded, and they don't feel comfortable with it. That's overstepping bounds. And
they may not say no when you ask them. So you need to be aware of their body language. They may say,
Right.
well, I don't know. Well, that means no.
right. And then just say, that's fine.
If it's anything other than a yes, it means no.
Right. But hugs are very comforting to people. And sometimes, like we found when we've gone out to Hy-Vee and other outreaches, when we're handing out literature, sometimes it is the first time that they've had a hug in a very long time. I go into nursing homes, and they don't get a lot of hugs there. So, and it's very comforting to them. Now, I like to keep my hugs out in the open where other people are involved. When I'm out in front of Hy-Vee, I would like to have another volunteer right next to me where I'm not by myself, and that's why we like to have a couple of people in the center at one time. And then and you don't want them to get, and we're going to talk a little bit about transference in a little bit too. When I was in the nursing home, I went up, I gave a hug to this woman, and she says, oh, I love you. She said, will you be my daughter? And I had to stop her, and I said, listen, she says, I've got a daughter, but she won't, and she starts telling me all of this. And I said, you've got a daughter, I can't take on being your daughter, but I can, you know, listen to you and I can, you know, help you as best as I can. But you don't want to take on a role, because sometimes when a person is grieving, they will think that you're going to be their friend and you are going to be their daughter or parent or whatever it may be. So we are in a role where we're volunteers, but we're support. We're support people, we're comforters, but we've got to keep that whole line between ourselves. So that goes a little bit about that. We've got Serenity information. Oh, here, I'm going to go over the intake process. Okay, so we have, when you are here for walk-in hours, 11 to 1, we have a book, or not a book, we have a sign-in sheet right at the door, and we would like everybody to sign in that comes in, whether they are a guest, whether they are a volunteer, whoever. I even sign in here. Everybody signs in. And put the date at the top. And you can find these on the desk in the office. And we like to put a fresh one out every single day. The orange, the only two things that will be in here are the blank sheets. Put one of those out, put the date on. And then if you could put the filled out sheets in the very back, right here. And what I like to do, and it's not necessary, you don't absolutely have to do it, but if you could put down on each sheet, B for board member, V for volunteer, G for guest, C for client. And I should put that on the outside of this. Okay, so I'll put the code on there. But it's not necessary that you do that. Okay, so on the top of the desk is this binder right here that says clients, and you're going to take this, you and your partner, and there's a stapler here too. I like to keep it right there. And you're going to open this up, and you're going to get 3 things out. 1, I number them.
This is easy.
2, and 3. And the first thing is, you're going to take this and you're going to have the person, before we begin, are you in danger of harming yourself or others? And they write yes or no and sign. And it says, client understands fully that Serenity is by no means equipped to deal with self-harm and violent behaviors. Serenity is obligated to keep everyone safe. We cannot even go any further. If they are in harm of themselves or other people, we're volunteers. That's all we are, and we're resources, and we don't deal with suicide or you know, like really severe things. And the best thing to do is ask them if they could, if they have a relative that we could call. If need be, we can call the police. I don't see that it would get to that point, or you can call 911. But that's the first and foremost thing.
So, can we ask questions?
Yes,
Okay,
please
so,
do.
So typically what will happen is a person will come in and you'll have some initial conversation, introduce yourselves, do the hug, whatever, not hug,
Small talk.
Right,
talk.
small talk.
and then you take the initiative to make sure they sign in,
Mhm.
and then explain that you have a few things you need them to do. and
Yes.
That's one of them.
Yes. Just, you know, invite them in, have them sign in first, and then have them sit down at the table. We have the table set up here. Get the book,
Okay.
and you and your partner sit down. There should be 2 of you, and you get 1 item, 2, and then 3. So you're sitting there with your partner, your other volunteer, the 2 of us would be here together. And when Kathy and I were sitting here, I said, Kathy, would you like to be the person who writes? And she says yes.
So
So,
there's presumably some sort of, this is what we are, we can help you find resources, do you feel like you
That's
need
all
some
in
resou-
this.
I mean, that would sort of be like a preliminary, before you just go straight to paperwork.
no, we're gonna go straight to the paperwork.
Okay.
It goes right through it.
Okay,
Just say, this is what we do. So, are you in harm of yourself or others?
Okay.
And then you say, okay, could you please fill this out? And it's just a very general form, and it says their name, their date, their address, just basic information. What's your grief circumstance? It says circumstances of loss, what special concerns do you want to address?
but sort of use common sense as far as, because like, if I walked into a place and someone immediately asked me to fill out a form with my name and address, I would be a little guarded. Like, I would want some sort of dialogue, like, what am I giving you this for? What, what do you offer? So we just need to read them and use our common sense,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Right,
as far as get a feel for how guarded they might be.
Well, like if you're handing this form out, you're saying, would you mind filling this form out to give us a better idea
Yeah.
of how we
So
can
just
assist
use
you?
our common sense,
Right.
basically.
it's just to give us some information.
Because I imagine someone who's in maybe some sort of fear to come in at all.
I know,
Then they walk in and they're expected to fill out. I think if we use our common sense.
exactly, I think so.
Just get a
And
good
you know
read
what?
on them and
And there are some people that just come in, want to tell their story, and we never see them again.
yeah. Just kind of case by case.
Yes.
be
I mean, I
sensible.
seriously, I have people that just walk through the door and they just want to tell their story, and that's what it is.
Okay.
They just need to say something.
And they wouldn't necessarily have to fill out every
Right.
part of this,
Right.
Yeah. Just
And this is really 4 questions and just basic information, and we say, you know what? It gives us some information to call you back if we need to,
Yeah.
and we can always stop it. If they don't feel comfortable, that's good. And then, so then they fill that out, and then we read the disclaimer, consent, and release. So it says, this is a checkoff list. This is for us to do. I'm the client, and I'm the volunteer. Welcome client and have client fill out the intake. Read Serenity disclaimer and client signs. So you're explaining exactly what Serenity is through this disclaimer, and they need to know that this is not counseling, because some people may come in here thinking, well, I'm going to get counseling here. No, we're not licensed counselors, we're support. Okay, so that's important that they know what we are, and so it kind of explains it. And then you're going to say, we'd like you to tell your story. We're going to take some notes down, and usually they feel pretty comfortable with this. And we're
Yeah,
not going to
they're
do
here.
anything other than, we're not going to use this for any kind of information other than to, it's just basics. We will not put anything down that you don't want us to. But it's basically, husband's name, how they died.
And
Exactly. Very basics. And we're writing all the information so the client doesn't have to do anything. And then you're going to say, it says read below general list and circle resources needed. And then it says take notes if needed. So I go through this whole list of resources, and we did this a couple days with a woman. And I get through and I'm like, okay. And it says stuffed animal, they can have a stuffed animal if they want, because we get those donated. A Bible, we get Bibles donated, so we give them out a Bible if they want. Literature, do they need that? Support group, do they need counselor name, food, clothing, camps, children? And I said, oh, that doesn't apply to you. And she goes, actually, and she's an older woman, so I'm so glad I read all this. She goes, actually, I do. I need children. She said, I need somebody to take care of. And I said, I've got just the right person for you. I have a client with with 4 kids and she needs care for 2 of her kids. She goes, that's perfect, because she wants to go back to work. The young woman does, but she doesn't have childcare. So had I not gone through the whole entire list, I would not have figured that out.
You just never know what their needs are.
You don't ever know. And then they may have some needs that you may not even know. So it goes on: children, medical, abuse, boundaries, workshops, addiction, housing, disability, mentoring, exercise, dance, art, music, meditation, medical, church supports, financial, volunteer opportunities, community opportunities, children playgroup, online grief support, inpatient services, intensive outpatient services. So that's just a general, and you may gather from them talking that there are other needs, and you may want to write down,
Yeah.
And then we have phone numbers here of things that, may help you find. There's a help book. There's little phone books in here of different resources and guides, and this is kept on the microwave over there. And you can look through there and see if you find anything. There are some different brochures up here, but if you don't know, just like Kathy said, you can say, could I get back to you? And most of the time that's what it's going to be, because we're not going to have the answers right away. It's like a research. So it says resource information provided. So you're going to say, well, I referred them to Soul's House, or I gave them Hillcrest Ministries for housing, or Lee Summit Social Services for food, whatever it is, just real general. And then plan of action, and usually they're going to know, or you're going to know what the plan of action is.
Like, we'll get back to you within a week.
Yes.
Or, okay.
Exactly. And you're going to go through, you're going to give them this and tell them what we have to offer here. So this has open walk-in times, Tuesday through Friday. It has community outreach. So these are things that are offered every day. Tuesdays we have prayer circle. Wednesdays we have guided meditation. Thursdays we have Hillcrest Thrift Store. We have a grief coffee meet and greet. We were doing that only monthly, but they said we could do that weekly. And I think for consistency, that's nice. And then Fridays, we have a DVD that we're going to pop in for Tai Chi. So, and then when I get back, we're going to do yoga on Monday, but that's not yet. And then we have support groups. We have an adult grief support group, and that's Saturdays at 2. We have children's group, that's Wednesdays at 4:30. And then teen grief group, and that's Wednesdays at 3:30. So this is what we have to offer for them here. They can, have a commitment to this. When we had that one woman come in, we gave her this sheet. She said she was interested in the group on Saturday. We had another woman, she said, oh, I love it. You do the coffee meet and greet on Thursdays. I work on Saturday. And she liked it because it's more informal. So that was a good fit for her. So, somebody may just want to come in for prayer group on Tuesdays. But we offer a variety of things.
So there's no counseling services, but there's all kinds of support services?
Yes.
Kind of like a bridge to other
Yes.
things.
And we want them to know that, there are a lot of different things that they can do. They can do prayer group. They could go out and get their own individual counselor. They may need to go to Lee Summit Social Services for food. They may need somebody to help them go over to Social Security office. So we just have to find out where they are and kind of gather it up for them, because, just doing laundry is a big task for them. Just getting going.
But we do have, those few opportunities during the week for basically group counseling,
Yes.
So that could meet quite a bit of their needs.
Yes.
Yes, and the thing is, with the support groups, we would like 2 people per support group. And the adult group is led by a licensed therapist, and then we have the children's group and the teen group. Both of us have worked in education and dealt with kids, and I've had backgrounds doing support groups. So while I'm out on leave, she needs somebody to co-facilitate with her. And once we get going, we'll kind of like find where people fit, and there may be other people who do the support groups too. And the adult group, the young adult group, we kept off for right now, because actually, it's very sad, but that's a very difficult age to even get kids interested in coming. It's really sad. So we've got to think about like how we're going to
But there
attack
is a
that.
Saturday adult grief group.
There is a Saturday adult grief group, and we kept that open to, we figured we are not going to specify what kind of, whether it's spouse loss or suicide, or we're just going to open it up to grief, because grief is grief, when you lose a loved one.
And maybe be more specific later when there's more
Right,
people.
right. Or maybe not. I mean, we
See
may
how it
just,
goes.
because when I was in a spouse loss group, a lot of those people were not necessarily wanting to go in suicide because they felt more of a connection going with spouse loss. And I don't know, I've connected with people that have lost children, and I think deep grief is deep grief, and you understand each other.
Yeah.
So, okay, are there any questions about the intake process? Did we cover everything pretty much?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have, fees. That's a big thing. When somebody comes in here, they say, well, how much is this? How much does this cost? We are not concerned about collecting money. We want to help people. That is our main goal. So, we take donations, and we have a little can that we put out, and we have people that, we pass that can around when it's support group time, or we take it to Hillcrest, and that's how we go right now. So there is no charge. We do not want to charge people. And there may come a time later where we do. We're kind of in that working stage. Okay, so when we get to the last part, plan of action, if somebody does say that they want to be a part of the support group, it's important that we explain to them that we would like a commitment. If they say they're going to be coming, we want them to be there. We don't want them to come one week and then not come another week, because then it's just not consistent. And we've got to have some kind of commitment to it where we know that Sherry, when she's here on Saturdays, that she's going to be here, or if we're going to do our children's group, that we're not just coming up here
Sure.
for no reason. So when that woman said she wanted to be part of the support group, I gave her Sherry's phone number, and I said, well, Sherry runs the group. Here's her phone number. If you can't make it, please just give her a call. But otherwise, she expects you to be here. Okay, so when you get done with the intake, you're going to take all of this, and you're just going to put the intake form, all their information, and put that on the top, and then staple it. And then in the client book, there's this green, we're not putting them in alphabetical right now because we just are we're small enough that we can just put them right in here. Just put them in behind the green. Okay. with the videotape, what we'll do is we will show this videotape to other people who volunteer, and then volunteers will train other volunteers. We already talked about follow-up call. And then Jessica worked on a volunteer application. So we're gonna have that available, and we are going to have all of the volunteers fill out their information on that. And I have a volunteer folder, and we'll keep the volunteer, it says volunteer contact information. We'll put volunteer applications in there. Isn't that nice how organized I am? Okay, well.
Well, I had a
yes.
couple of things. Just to reiterate, although Jill's pretty much said everything that you need to know as far as I can think of, just to remember on professionalism and boundaries, a reminder that we need to think of ourselves as healthcare professionals.
Even though we're not.
Yes, but think of yourself
Yes.
as conduct yourself in that manner, because we have an open door policy, but we need to keep our interaction with our clients to only be during our business hours, including phone calls from clients.
Never give out your personal number.
Yes.
Well, you can, but like I give out mine, but I say, I've had people call me at 10:30 at night. I'm not kidding you. And I have told them our place is open from, well, right now it's 10 to 2. And I said, our open hours are between 10 and 2, and this is when you need to call.
I wouldn't
Because-
give it out.
Well,
Your brain,
and you don't
your
have to,
control's
but
different than
You're
Exactly.
probably, though, if you are calling them back, you are going to be calling them probably from your personal phone, so they have your number. But if they understand, although we're going to be open from 11 to 1, but if we can keep their calls between 10 to 2, if you're making a volunteer, if you're volunteering, then you're probably okay with your calls and when they call you back. If you don't want to, then you could give out Jill's number. But
Is there a phone line here, or do you just use your cell?
I just use my cell.
Okay.
Yeah, we will have a
We
phone
can
line
figure that
in the future.
eventually.
Yes.
So, and this is to protect ourselves from liability and to help avoid transference. We, as volunteers, cannot become friends with the clients outside of the center. Examples would be like going out for coffee or becoming Facebook friends. And a definition of transference is it's a phenomenon characterized by unconscious redirection of feelings from one person to another. So we aren't friends or family members with them. We're not, just like she was talking about, can you be my daughter?
Right, and I've had to deal with this the whole time when I was in the school. You just have to keep that line between and know where your position is, that you are basically like a caretaker or a comforter, volunteer, but you're like a health provider, which you're not, but you've got a position where you're not their friend and you're not their family member, and you're not going to be until this is all over, until their grieving process is done. An example of this is when I was grieving myself, and my Stephen minister, she saw me through my whole process for an entire year. She gave me her phone number, and she let me call when we weren't meeting. We met once a week, but I pretty much knew my boundaries, that I'm not going to call her in the evening, but she said you can call between such and such hours, and she gave her guidelines. And then I said, well, let's be Facebook friends. Well, I didn't, I don't know what I was thinking. And she says, well, no, I can't be Facebook friends with you. And then once we were done with that relationship of her being my mentor, my Stephen minister, she could be friends with me on Facebook. And we are friends right now. And we talk once in a while, on the phone, and we meet out for lunch. So the relationship of her caring for me is not there. And just like when I have my psychiatrist, he saw me through what I was doing. And then once I'm in the position of not being cared for him, he can, you know, see me in a different light as being part of Serenity, more like a colleague. So I've taken on to be more like a colleague rather than his patient. I don't see him anymore. So that's just some examples. And the same thing when I was working in the school district, I did not have the parents as my friends. I did not friend them. I did not go out with them. I didn't have them on my Facebook. I didn't have children on my Facebook because I was in the role of being their counselor. And not that I don't do it now because, you know, they are my friends now. I'm friends with many of them. It's just that my role is different. So, okay.
Oh, well, the other thing that we wanted to touch on is our faith-based policy. Our center is a non-denominational group. We do not adhere to any certain religion or ideology. We are accepting of all faiths and are non-judgmental. In this way, we can be able to help the most people.
Okay. And then I think we were going to get that written up.
I'm working on that.
Yeah.
I'll have it done by the next meeting.
Okay, that's perfect.
And I'm sure you'll be able to explain that.
Right.
Oh, you did
It's
a good
just,
job.
yeah, and that's basic. We don't want to condemn anyone. We don't want to get into religions necessarily. Many of us have a higher power, you know, we can speak of that.
Yes.
We can speak of what our higher power is, but we don't want to get interpretations of the Bible. I guess that's just the basics.
And some people may not even have a religion, so.
Right, and we welcome them. And basically, and we have had people where they don't have a religion, and basically it's, I'm not going to judge you if you don't judge me. I'm trying to think. Oh, this is a really wonderful book, and it's called Healing a Friend's Grieving Heart. And if anybody ever wants to read this, it's just real basics, and you can borrow this. And then there's another book. Do you know what you did with that?
It's in my purse.
Okay. It's another really, well, we got a lot of great books that just go over like how to help.
Daily prayer book.
Yeah, in daily prayer. We got so much literature
See, I
here.
want to use that for our Thursday coffee meet and greet to kind of help start with, you know, a little bit of a focus for our group.
Right. So, then we also have books, and we don't have really a set way of loaning them out. When I was in the school district, I felt like if somebody didn't return a book, they really needed it. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten all those books, you know, for pretty cheap. I want them back, but I'm not
gonna
gonna,
library aid over it.
no.
No, I think we could
And
have a sign up.
What I did was I just had them write down the title and then their phone number, and then I wrote down the price of the book, and then, or the ISBN number. I just write down the information. And then what I do is I'd write the date and I'd call them, and you know what? Everybody gave me back the books.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have a problem. I just made a phone call and said, could I have my books back? Or do you need them longer? So I never got worked up about books because I figure they really need them, and we can always get more books. But there are certain books I really like this one. I would want to keep this one here.
That one maybe you want to do as that's for volunteers.
Yeah,
And that's when, that chances are, it's going to stay here because when they're doing their volunteer
Yes.
training, that you've got the video and you've got the book, and those are while they're working as a volunteer, they can be
I
doing
think
their
we need to
training
have
for
a
that.
basket of books that we don't loan out.
Mhm.
That's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to put a basket of books back here that we do not loan out. that we keep those here, because they're my favorites and I don't want to return.
Right, as they're
I mean, I
volunteering,
want.
as they're volunteering, they're here anyway.
Yeah,
I got you.
whatever.
And you know what, the other thing was Jill worked on this behind you, Angie, the calendar. This is, where we have the names of people that are volunteering. So if you
I'm gonna
run
put this
into,
over on the video.
if you run into anyone else that, the empty spots where we could use a volunteer, and Todd's going to post that on the website too, that
So-
information.
So in here, we have a spot for 1, 2 people. And so we have pretty much,
We
like,
have at least one person coverage for most of the day.
well, and Ann is just a backup person, so we need somebody with Ann.
On Tuesday.
But Kathy, she could be by herself if need be, but it would be nice for liability reasons if somebody was here. Barbie, she's only here 2 times.
So there's openings later
Yeah.
in third.
And then
Okay.
Angie, she's here every single Friday.
Can I email you? Because
Yeah,
I only allocated an hour and I have a client sitting in my office waiting, so I'm gonna have to email you to get on the schedule.
oh yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, we're done.
Okay.
Yes, we're done.
I'm only 2 minutes away, but they have a 2 o'clock appointment.
Oh yeah. Can you turn off the
Yes.
video? Thank you for coming,
I'll email
everyone.
you.
So did you say that schedule is gonna be on the website?
Yes, we are gonna
Yeah.
try to put this on the website.